Good afternoon. This is Joe Fields with Week 8 Project Final for Introduction to Firearms with Cody Myers. This week we have 5 parts to this final assignment. Part 1 is going to be an extension of what we've kind of looked at previous weeks, which is taking one of our own firearms and going through the field stripping, cleaning, and description of a lot of what it is. So for this week, I'll be using a different weapon. This week, and this weapon is free and clear, I'll be using a 6-hour M17, which is basically a 6-hour P320. This weapon is free and clear, nothing down the barrel, there is no magazine, and there is no live ammunition at all on my table. This weapon, the M17, is a P320 for all purposes. This was a military designation since it had taken over primary sidearm for Army and Marines. This weapon has been slightly modified from your typical M17. The lower grip module has been replaced with a Wilson Combat full dust cover grip module, full size. Typically the M17 comes with a partial dust cover, so you get some of the exposed rail taken away here. I just like the looks of the exposed rail. It gives me a little bit more to play with down here. And I love the grip of the Wilson Combat grip module, and it's got a beveled magwell. Going into this weapon further, this is a 6-hour M17. I had to call 6 hour to get the dates on this thing because it wasn't part of the serial number. I called today. This was built in September of September of 2018. This is a DOA double action type. You will get no once the trigger is depressed, you cannot actuate the hammer. You have to cock the hammer to get your trigger back. This is a striker fired pistol. This is a short recoil operated using a 6-hour system that was partially developed by John Browning. It was used initially, I believe, in the Colt 1900. But it's a Browning action that's been slightly modified using a short recoil operated lock breech system. Loading is done via magazine 17 or 21 plus. The trigger is a double action trigger only. And that's the basics as far as what this firearm is. I love this firearm. I know there's some controversy behind this firearm. The N17 specifically has some alterations that the 320 does not have with it, such as it's got the 3.9 inch barrel. I'm sorry, the 4.7 inch barrel on the full size. There's the M17 and the M18. The M18 is the carry version of the full size M17. So this is the 4.7 inch barrel. It did have an ambidextrous safety that had to be removed for the Wilson Combat grip module. It's chambered in 9x19. The capture components for the slide sub-assembly are a little bit exaggerated. Like the catch release is really nice and out there. The action is firm but very workable. It's got an improved mud flap on the trigger guard just because of the military usage of getting anything that might be caught up in that well or guard. Loaded trigger indicator, and it's got a slide cut to facilitate a reflex sight. I have not put a red dot on this one just because I enjoy carrying it with the sights that it has. It does have Trijicon sights, but these died several years ago and I haven't replaced them yet. I don't mind the white dots that it currently come with. If anything, I might black out the rears and leave the white on the front. Part 2 of this assignment is to go through the action type and description of the cycle of operations for our chosen weapon. This is still my 6-hour M17. This is still free and clear, no magazine, no live ammunition on my desk. The firing operation of this weapon consists of, since it is double action, racking the slide, initiates the chambering by lifting the round up from the magazine into the feed ramp and then releasing the slide, then partially cocks and locks the chamber. Now that the firing pin, which acts as the firing pin of the hammer, is in a partially cocked position, the trigger is double action. Upon depressing the trigger, it will continue to ready the striker until you take out the take up or the creep. Once you hit that creep or that wall and clear it, it will continue to pull and then release on the striker or hammer, hitting into the back of the projectile, igniting the primer and the propellant. The short recoil operation of this allows for the force of the gases of the propellant to take back the slide, which will start to enact both extraction and cocking for the next round that happens. Extractions happen throwing out the used round. Loading occurs by grabbing the next one, taking it up to the feed ramp as the slide finishes its journey backwards. Once the slide is finished and reciprocates forward again, it loads the next round in, finishing the cocking of the hammer and ready for the second round of operation. Part 3 of this assignment involves field stripping this weapon. This is again my 6-hour M17 or P320. This is free and clear. Checking it again. This has no magazine in the mag well. There is no ammunition on my table. To disassemble this weapon, you take and lock back the slide, rotate the takedown pin to the 6 o'clock position, release the slide, comes off the rails. You have the upper slide, you have the lower grip module, and the fire control group in here. To further disassemble the slide, you will take out the recoil spring, which is a captive recoil spring. Set that to the side. The barrel you can actually take up and out through the slide at the top. And then you have the empty slide in hand. That's it for part 3. Coming up, part 4. For part 4 of this one, after field strip, we're going to demonstrate the cleaning process on the components. For the barrel, I would take my snake and 9mm brush and run it through here a couple times. I will show that we have a little bit of crud on here that I can demonstrate that we're going to be trying to clean off here today. Weapon is free and clear. Weapon's actually taken apart. There's no live ammunition on my table anywhere. After we run the brush through the barrel, we would then run the patch through with the snake or the rod. Get it through there with some CLP just until you can get a clean patch through there. Check the rifling once you're done with it. And then I even take a brush across the feed ramp and any other spots where I might be getting some carbon buildup. Set the barrel to the side. The captured guide rod and recoil spring I'll take a patch to and wipe down any of the contact points that I possibly can. And then set it to the side. The upper slide I will take my patch to or my rag and eventually Q-tips and get into all the recessed areas. Check on the metal-to-metal slide contact points. Make sure those are clear of crud, and the front of the muzzle, because you'll get quite a bit of carbon buildup that kind of gets stuck onto there. Set that aside. Fire control group on this, I can actually, with the 320 platform, I can actually pull this fire control unit free and out of the grip and get in there real good and clean all the different components. And then as I reassemble this firearm up, I will actually go through and start to lube this back up. So I will reinsert the fire control unit, make sure that slides free and clear back. Pull the trigger a couple times to make sure it's seated. Go ahead and throw the reset back. There we go. Set this down, throw the barrel back in. Once I get the upper and lower back reassembled, I will then take my CLP and I will put, with this weapon it likes a liberal amount but not enough to where it's soaking in it. I'll put it back onto the rails here and any of the metal to metal contact points, and I typically just take my finger and make sure it guides it all through there nice. Same with the upper, the slide portion. I'll make sure to get in there into the slide recesses, run a bead through there. Just touch it. I'm not AR lubing this thing up. I'm just doing pretty much a liberal Glock lube onto it. And then I'm taking my upper, my lower, sliding it. Giving it a second to get back. Nope, didn't like that. We'll re-release this. Something with my recoil spring rod. Let's reseat that. Try that again. Much better. That was odd. I think my captured recoil rod wasn't seated right because it wasn't coming out of the front of the slide correctly. So we just took that back down and then reassembled and then got it back to running again. Thank you. This is part 4. For part 5 of this project, we're going to go and find the schematics and the manual for this weapon off of Firearms Guide. What I typically do is I'll go out and find SIG, and then it's going to allow me to then, I can search by the M17 if I want to, but it's going to produce only 3 entries, and none of these, the manual and the 320 M17 manual are great. It doesn't really include all the information because I would look for the 320. And we're going to get not only the same stuff we have from the previous search, but also some of the other ones. Now, this is going to be as close as a schematic as I can get on my particular M17, which is the first link off of the P320. The manual itself this is what I have in the box upstairs, which does have a parts breakdown, but it doesn't have a true schematic. It's more of a how-to breakdown field strip, eventually getting to where you can see diagrams like this, which isn't a full schematic. So I would refer both not only to the base model, but also the specific model to try to find as much information as possible. Just wanted to say a quick thank you, Cody, for this experience in this class. I've had a great time. It's something I would retake over again, just to be able to have the discussions that we had with you and also the other students. So thank you. Appreciate you. This concludes my week 8 and final assignment. Bibliography is going to be the Firearms Guide that we used, as well as the Cleaning Lab from SDI handbook. Thank you.